Hi, welcome to the McGuire Review, and we're going to be taking a look at Odins Ravens. You know, it's actually pretty cool that we've even got this game. So, a few years ago, there was actually a Kickstarter, and I'm not going to name who it was, but I was actually part of the Kickstarter campaign that they wanted to do Odins Ravens. Well, one thing led to the next, and we never got the game. What was awesome is Osprey Games came along and wanted to publish Odin's Raven, and they did a fantastic job. One thing that was super cool that they did was they reached out to all the people that were on the original Kickstarter list for Odin's Ravens, not through them, through someone else, and said, hey, we know there was a Kickstarter, we know it failed, we know you never got your game, but you paid your money, so we're going to give you a free copy of the game. Awesome. I mean, I get it from Osprey Games. You know, it's a good business strategy, right, to make the game, make sure the Kickstarter people got taken care of out of another campaign, but they didn't need to do that. They didn't need to give everybody from the prior Kickstarter campaign a free copy of the game. Well, not necessarily free. I mean, I did pay for it, but, you know, from their perspective, pretty much free, all right? They're just giving it to the Kickstarter people that were in that campaign. It's a really cool two-player game, 20 to 30 minutes, and 8+ on this guy. You'll see, we'll start with the rule book really quick. Really cool looking rule book. It's got a real, classic feel to it. Nice color picture. Very simple rule set you can see there. Just back and front, 3 pages. If we hit the components really quick, right up front we're going to have what we call in the game the land cards. And you're going to set up 16 of these cards. And how that's going to work, and I'll just grab a few here to give you an example. I'm going to lay these out. And when you play the game again, you're going to put out 16 of them. But let's just quickly here show you how this works. What you're going to do is you're going to put your 16 cards out. And one person's going to choose one side, and the other person's going to choose the other side. And basically the premise of the game is you want to get your Raven all the way down to the end and all the way back to the other side. So wherever the other person started from, that's your end point, and vice versa. So it's basically a race around through these land areas back to the start of where the other person started. And how you're going to do that is through 2 different types of cards you're going to be given. One, you're going to have a pile of cards, your trickery cards. In this game, they call them Loki cards. It's pretty cool. And these cards basically are just list off different types of abilities. So you may be able to just automatically move your Raven forward and not have the proper land, right? Just move it forward. You might be able to adjust the lands to make your path shorter and someone else's longer. You may be able to draw cards. There's a various number of things you'll be able to do. So you'll have those Loki cards, and then you'll have what you call land cards, and that's the big stack that you have here. Now you'll notice these cards have the full-scale image on them that these smaller cards here have. So, for instance, here's the winter peaks, right, which corresponds to the winter here. There's a couple winters here. You basically need these land cards that match the same type of symbol that's on this card. So if, and this is an example here, so if let's say this was my Raven and it was my turn, I could pull this mountain ravine card here, and we got a mountain ravine. That would allow me to move my Raven to that mountain ravine. Now, when I start the game, I'm going to pick 5 cards. Now, this is something that's really cool about this strategy. When you pick your 5 cards, you're going to have these 2 stacks, and they're going to be face down. You're not going to be able to see what they are. You're going to have your Loki cards and your land cards, and you're going to be able to pick 5 cards from those 2 decks in any way and order that you want. So I could pick 3 Loki cards and 2 land. I could pick 4 land and 1 Loki. I could do 2 and 3, 3 and 2. Whatever you want to do to kind of optimize what type of strategy you'd like to use during that game, right? And I've done a couple different ways, right? I've gone in with 4 land cards to try to see, hey, if I can, maybe get ahead and then hit them with a trick. Or I've done the strategy where I've taken more of the Loki cards and less of the land, and had those tricks ready to go when I really needed them. You can really use them to kind of deter your opponent maybe early in the game, or kind of hang on to them at the end. but you're going to pick 5 cards. Now, throughout the course of the game, you can have a max of 7 cards in your hand, and if you ever go over that total, you have to discard some cards, just as you would in any type of card game where there's a max on the hand. Now, when it is your turn, you can play, let's say that we started the game and we had let's say we picked 1, 2, 3 land cards. Again, those would be face down. You wouldn't know what you had. And let's say we picked 2 of the tricks. So we got our starting hand of 5 cards. I keep calling these trick cards. They're formally called Loki cards. So I've got 2 Lokis and 3 lands. Let's say it's my turn. Another nice thing about this game is you're not limited to how many actions you can take. You can take as many actions as you want for the cards that you have in your hand. So let's just say, for instance, I had enough land cards to do 1, 2, 3, which means I would have had a ravine, a forest, and like a wheat field. Okay, I would have had to have those cards, and I have to show them. In this instance, I do not. Just for example, I'd have to show them to my opponent that I was able to move that far. And I could choose to use a trick card as well. I could say, oh, I'm going to use this trick card, which allows my Raven just to move forward 1, and I could go there. Okay, that could be my first turn. And again, you're going to have 16 cards for a full game. I'm already up 5 cards, and now it's my opponent's turn. Now my opponent with their 5 cards may not be able to move that far. So, you know, it's all up to when you want to use your cards based on, you know, the challenge that you have in front of you, and how far along your opponent is. When your turn's over, you're going to get to draw 3 cards, so up to 3 cards. Again, not hitting or not going over that 7 card maximum. And it's the same deal as it would be if you were starting off the game. You would go to your 2 piles, your land cards and your Loki cards, and you would draw your 3 in any way that you would like. 3 Lokis, 2 lands, 1 Loki, whatever you want to do. The only thing that you have to know is as you use these land cards, when they run out, you can reshuffle them and continue the use of those land cards. That generally doesn't happen because you've got a pretty good sized deck of land cards. The Loki cards, however, are different. The Loki cards are a one-time use. So you do have to think through when you want to use these Loki cards. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Loki cards for one game. And again, after you use that Loki card, it's done. And there's 2 of each type. So there's a little strategy that gets into that as well. As you use those cards, if you pay attention to the cards that you've used, you're going to know probably what's coming up in your Loki card deck if you're saving some of those for an endgame move. All right, Osprey Games, great job. Let me hit really quick what I liked about this game. 1, the art. I really like the art style of the different areas and the land. Loki versus land, so it's giving you that option on every game turn to draw either land or Loki cards, to use Loki or land cards. And you know, the last one, quite frankly, I actually got the game. I mean, you know, from the Kickstarter campaign, I didn't think I would actually get it. It had been years. All it comes, Osprey Games just rocks it out and publishes it and gives all the Kickstarter people a copy. Thanks, guys. This has been the McGuire Review. We'll see you later.
You're going to put your bird there. I didn't do this right.